You ever had one of those jobs where you're just counting the minutes? You're not really engaged, you're just trying to get through the day. You're surviving. Well, it turns out the massive difference between just surviving at work and actually thriving comes down to one really powerful, invisible force. And we're going to break that down right now. The gap between those two feelings, surviving versus thriving, it all hinges on this one critical, and yeah, often invisible element, psychological safety. And when it's missing, it's not just a minor inconvenience. Nope, it's a huge problem that can poison an entire workplace culture.
I mean, this quote just hits the nail on the head, right? When that feeling of safety is gone, all the best parts of us, our creativity, our guts, our voice, they just get shut down. We stop trying to make things better and just focus on protecting ourselves.
And you can see the two realities right here, side by side. On one side, you've got this culture of silence, of being afraid to make a mistake. On the other, a culture where people speak up, where they innovate. The difference is night and day. And it all comes down to whether people feel safe enough to be, fully human at work.
Okay, so we've laid out the problem, we know what it looks like when it's missing, but what exactly is psychological safety? Let's get into a clear definition. And this is really important. It's not about just being nice or avoiding tough conversations. Not at all. It's about building a culture where really know, that you can take a risk. Like admitting you messed up or disagreeing with your boss without being afraid you'll be humiliated or punished for it. It has to be baked into the culture. It can't just be some item on a checklist. And it's a big concept. We're talking about safety on every level. You've got emotional safety, which is feeling like you can be vulnerable. Psychological safety, so you can think freely and share ideas. And systemic safety, which means the company's actual rules and processes are designed to support and protect people. It's the whole package.
So that's the big question, isn't it? If we want to build this kind of amazing culture, where do we even begin? What do people actually say they need to feel safe?
Well, it turns out when you ask people, they point to these really core human things. Empathy, mutual respect, the feeling of actually being listened to. It's not about some complicated, expensive program. It's about the basic ways we treat each other every single day. That's what builds trust.
So, building on those ideas, there's a really fantastic framework that makes all of this concrete and something you can actually do. It's called the 8 Pillars of Safety.
This framework comes from Dr. Shungu Magaza, and it gives us a clear roadmap. These aren't just fuzzy ideas. They are solid, concrete pillars you can use to both build and, just as importantly, measure the safety of your own workplace.
Okay, let's just quickly run through them. First, you've got the foundational stuff, like building trust and belonging and high-quality listening. Then you get into the deeper, more empathetic pillars, things like understanding emotional states and managing and nurturing identities. And finally, you have the pillars that are all about taking action, setting boundaries, creating visions of the future, and this is a big one, championing people and opening doors for them. See how they all build on each other?
Now, here is where this whole framework gets really, really powerful. It's not just a to-do list. It's actually a diagnostic tool. I love this metaphor, a mirror, because if you look at your organization through the lens of each of these pillars, you get a super honest reflection of what your culture really is, not just what the fancy mission statement on the wall says it is.
And that gets to the heart of it. It's not about whether you have a policy on listening. It's about how people actually listen, day in and day out. That's what decides whether you're building a place of growth or a place of fear.
So let's use that mirror for a second. Just think about your own workplace. When people are talking in a meeting, are others listening to actually understand what they're saying? Or are they just waiting for their turn to talk and make their own point?
And what about boundaries? Are things like working hours and personal time actually respected? Or is there this unspoken pressure to always be on, where those lines get crossed all the time, leaving people feeling totally burned out?
This one's huge for anyone in leadership. Do your leaders hoard information and opportunities acting like gatekeepers? Or do they actively champion their people, creating paths for them to grow, acting as gateways? That one difference can change everything. And please, remember this one critical point. A quiet meeting does not mean a safe meeting. In fact, it can often mean the exact opposite. It can mean people are just too scared to speak their minds. Never, ever confuse silence for safety.
Okay, so understanding these pillars and using them as a mirror, well, it's not just some academic exercise. It's the first real step on the path toward creating massive, meaningful change. And this visual shows that journey perfectly.
The goal is to move your whole organization from a place of exclusion and unconscious bias to a place of real equity and conscious inclusion. And guess what? Psychological safety is the road you have to build to get from point A to point B.
This just sums it all up beautifully. The work has to start with us, with our own self-awareness. But these 8 pillars, they give us the blueprint to turn that personal insight into a real organization-wide transformation. They are the bridge. So, I'll leave you with this one last thought, turning that mirror back to you one last time. When you think about your organization, what does safety really feel like? Is it a place where people are just surviving? Or is it a place where you and everyone around you can truly, genuinely thrive?